Great. Right on time. Great. So, hello, everybody. I'm very glad to be here again on stage. And so today I would like to share a bit about my journey of entrepreneur, and specifically about how I worked on building a consulting innovation agency. We might go to the first slide if you don't mind. I think it's one of the last slides I see on the screen. Could you get to the first slide, please? Great, excellent. So, it's starting some way back. So, when I was still a student, I was studying in economy, and at the time, back in the day, in 1998, internet was a trend. Right? It was not a fact, and a lot of people were debating about how eventually this will change our lives. A bit the same as AI now, right? And we had no idea. And because of this, and I was extremely curious about this, so I couldn't wait to work. So I created a company with some other colleagues to try to understand the magnitude of the disruption of the internet in our life and in the economy. And I eventually sold that company later to a large TV media group in France. But at that time, we had no money. I was just a student. And because we wanted to understand, so we were actually interviewing academic person, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. And we had no money, so we also came up with the idea of, instead of having like just articles in writing, to bring them to some events. We couldn't pay for an event place, but actually we find a technology from a gaming company where we could actually create a metaverse online. So we kind of hacked this technology to create our own Hall of Fame that you can see over here. And we had our amphitheater. We even had a swimming pool. And it was fun. And I got a lot of learning from that first experience. The first is obviously the magnitude of internet all over the economy until now. And also because, believe it or not, at that time I was really shy and I was young. And because of that project, it pushed me to meet other people and to try to sell my idea and to bring them on board. So I kind of understood how a personal network can be powerful. Knowledge is one thing, but the power of a personal network is just incredible. And then I also understood how you can find some shortcut by hacking things. So hacking is coming from the internet, and you can also do business hacking. So I started to learn about not doing only things by the book, but to also do like business hacking. So after this first chapter, I joined a traditional consulting company. And that company was at a turning point to become a so-called internet consulting unit. So I joined to create this. It was in year 2000. So it was my first real experience into joining an innovation consulting company. It was very new at the time. And I learned a lot of things during my stay in that company. So first, I understood that innovation is a matter of culture. You cannot really decide about innovation. You have to lay out the foundations of nurturing innovation. You need to have a specific mindset. And so you need to create this culture of innovation in a company to be able to create an innovation consulting company. The other thing I learned is you don't have to just to be an expert of something. You need to package this expertise into a service, into a product, into a solution, and that's another step of building some business. And here you see a lot of visuals about Chinese contemporary art. You might wonder why. So at that time I was still in Paris, and in the flow of the business of the company, at some point we had a low level of business, and the boss at the time decided to create a contemporary art exhibition to bring a spotlight in our business and to bring clients. And by that time, I understood about my first experience about China and Chinese contemporary art. And it was very important because my next chapter was actually going to China. So I joined a bank to work the innovation transformation from the inside. You see here my first photo from on the Boon, because they sent me to China to develop this innovation center. And I had the time and I had the opportunity to be in China for real, to also understand the power of open innovation, how to bring startups to connect with companies. This is what we were doing with this innovation center at the time. And the importance of a physical space like here, where you can actually create real connections and generate ideas between conversations. Of course, I understand also about innovation in a large corporation, which has a lot to do with governance, and you have to navigate around this. Some kind of complexity that you don't have with startups. And I was in China for real. It was 17 years ago. And something that brought me to the next chapter is luxury. I realized that the luxury industry was getting big in China, totally underserved. So I decided that for the next chapter, I will do that. So I created Velvet in 2013. We got some success. We've been noticed by the New York Times. And finally, I had the opportunity to build up my own innovation consulting firm. I understood that it was not enough. Again, I had to create a brand. It was not just myself. And also to get trust from clients, it takes time. So you don't just have to be good about what you are doing. You have to gain their trust over and over. And the last thing is being good at yourself as an expert is great, but it's not enough. You need to have a grade A team with you. Otherwise, the ceiling is pretty low. I had the opportunity to sell this company to a larger company and then to deploy 6 innovation hubs, similar to what I did in China, so across different continents, San Francisco, Morocco, and some other places. And then I learned about, growing at scale. And the great thing with innovation is there's no border. Ideas can navigate easily from one continent to another. And the real way to really understand innovation is actually to look in different continents. So even now, being in China, always looking into what's happening elsewhere. And of course, I'm starting to learn about how to connect China with the rest of the world. 3 years later, so 3 years from now, we sold that company. So I was managing board of this company. So we sold it to Ernst & Young. We went from 6 offices to 7 offices globally to 700 offices in 140 countries. So more scale. I couldn't imagine how a company could operate, in this kind of scale. So it was very interesting to learn about this. And also I learned about the dichotomy between processes and serendipity. For that size of company, you have a lot of processes, but innovation really require a bit of space, unknown, and serendipity. So I decided to take my freedom back, and I bought back the China asset that we sold to EY to create Trajectry. It was last year, a year and a half ago. So this company, Trajectry, is a tech and AI-driven consulting agency. We already won a couple of awards. I hope I found a model which is close to what I try to do since many years. And a new journey of learning is beginning now. So very happy to share with you all of this few learning along the way. Maybe a last thought before concluding, and a message for all you here in the audience is also realize that whatever you do, you have to try. You have to move on. And sometimes you win. Most of the time you fail. But you never really lose if you learn something out of it. So I really encourage you to move forward, learn from your failures, because you will turn them into success. Thank you very much for listening.